Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premiere Network on Saturday, June 8th, 2019. This is episode 1598. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by DigitalOcean. Deploy and scale your apps seamlessly on the simplest cloud platform. Join over 150,000 businesses that use DigitalOcean. Sign up today. You'll get a free $50 credit at do.co/twit. And by Carbonite, the premier data protection platform for business with customizable cloud and hybrid backup for your servers. To learn more, visit Carbonite.com. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, you know, all that jazz. 8888. Ask Leo, that's the phone number, 888-827-5536. I think I'd know that by now. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. I'd love to hear from you. All you got to do is call that number. Now, if you're outside of those countries, you don't have to call for the phone. In fact, you shouldn't, because it won't be toll free. But you could use Skype or something like that. Skype out. That should be toll free. There's also a website. We're proud to say free and easy and open to all, and that's techguylabs.com. And I mentioned that so you don't have to write anything down. As you're listening, and you hear something you want to remember, or maybe you're looking at the radio going crazy, saying, "Leo, you're wrong." Well, you don't have to yell at the radio. You can just post it on our website. There's no charge, no sign up. techguylabs.com. I'd love to hear from you. Chat room is also operational, and that's not exactly the word I was looking for, but that's a good enough word. It's something. It's going. It's happening at irc.twit.tv. A bunch of other people watching the show and listening to the show and talking about the show. irc.twit.tv. So, Apple was a little busy this week. Announced a bunch of new stuff. Let's talk about it briefly. Because it's nothing anybody can afford, so it's just the kind of thing that makes people jealous and unhappy. It's as if your favorite computer company came out, or your favorite car company came out and said, "Well, actually, it's very much like Ford has a car that no one can afford too, right? What is it? The GT. No one can afford it, or it's a supercar." Somebody can afford it, I guess. Not me. But Ford makes it because there are people who will buy it. It also is good for business because people look at it and they go, wow, Ford can really make some amazing stuff. And I think also, and they race it and stuff. But I think also there's an important point to Ford's GT, which is if cost were no object, given the engineering expertise we have, what would we make? What would be, if we didn't have to think about selling it, what would we make? And you would make something that looked probably a lot like the Ford GT, or in Apple's case, their new Mac Pro, which is really in many ways the epitome of computer technology design. It's as if Apple literally said, look, the sky's the limit, guys. Go and make something. Now, of course, you could make a supercomputer that no one would need or buy. So I guess they probably didn't say the sky's the limit in that sense, but they said, look, let's make the best computer for professionals, for people who are editing 8K high dynamic range video, super quality video, or people who they showed it off on stage on Tuesday. They showed one of the new Mac Pros, which looks strikingly like a cheese grater, one of those standing cheese graters. That's actually good news, and I'll tell you why about that in a second. But they showed one of these Mac Pro cheese graters running their music program, Logic Pro, And it was a fun reveal because it started off with just a few instruments. And they said, well, many times we want more instruments. How about 1,000 sampled, real samples of instruments, not synthesized, but real samples of instruments. 1,000. They opened them up, and it keeps playing, and there's no hesitation. And then he says, but really, this music is a soundtrack for a movie that's being edited in 8K. That's, 4 times the resolution of 4K, 16 times the resolution of high def, HD, HDR, and we have 3 separate video streams in the 8K. So let's play all of those. So they've got now 3 8K video streams, high quality video streams, plus 1,000 instruments playing the soundtrack. And let's look at this. Let's look at the processor monitor, and the thing is just chugging along. And it doesn't even sound loud. The fans are quiet. This is nice. This is pretty. Now, that machine is not the base model. I can probably promise you that. It is in fact most likely one of the highest end models. So this thing starts off with a 8-core Xeon W processor from Intel. That's the base model. It's got, 64 or 32 gigs of RAM? I can't remember. A lot. After a certain point, you don't have to ask. It has dual graphics cards. I think it had the dual graphics cards. The base model. And it has a whopping 256 gig hard drive. Okay, maybe that was a little small. 256. That, by itself, that thing, which you can't buy till this fall, is $5,000, or I'm sorry, $6,000, $6,000. But that money doesn't matter because, honestly, that's the base model. That's the one no one wants. They just make it so that they could show the lowest price. Really, the one that's playing 1,000 music streams at the same time and 8K videos and all that. That's probably got a lot more memory. Up to, by the way, this thing will come with up to 1.5 terabytes of memory. Now that drive, that 256 gig drive, well, you got to put more in there. And in fact, they will have the ability to add these new modules that can get quite large. I think I saw 32 terabytes, but Apple's speccing it out at 4 terabytes max. 28 cores, 28 different processors on the motherboard. Dual video cards. Yes, dual video cards. That's 4 video cards, Radeon Pro Vega 2s. And then optional features include, just like the Ford GT, the Apple Afterburner and wheels. Yes, wheels are extra. The thing is so heavy, you might want to get those, the cheese grater. Oh, do you want a keyboard and a mouse? That will be extra. Did you want a monitor? Well, good news. Apple is also making a monitor for this Ford GT of computers that comes in at a nifty $5,000, the XDR monitor. Beautiful monitor. Very nice. 32-inch. Beautiful monitor. But wait a minute. I didn't mention one thing. It doesn't come with a stand. If you actually only bought the $5,000 monitor, it would just fall over. I guess you could lean it against the $6,000 computer, and then you'd be done at $11,000. But you're going to probably want to buy the Apple stand for $1,000. Basically, that's like the rims on the Ford GT. It's going to cost you, okay? Because you're not buying an iMac here. This is something special. So I figure nobody knows yet because Apple, it's not going to ship till the fall, and Apple hasn't said anything except the base price. But I would guess that a nicely equipped Mac Pro, 2019 Mac Pro from Apple, costs you around, I'd say $25,000, $30,000, thereabouts. Less than a Ford GT. Actually, less than a Chevy Bolt. So, not so bad. It is actually very gratifying. I'm going to tell you, I'm making fun of it because, of course, it's hysterical. But it actually is really gratifying. It's Apple. This is why it's gratifying. Listening to pros, the people who edit video and make music, and do high-end stuff. People who are working for a living with their Macs, for whom time is of the essence. And in most cases, they just charge it back to the client anyway. Major motion picture studios, things like that. They're making what they wanted. A return to what was the classic cheese grater Mac Pro. It looked like a cheese grater then, too. Not quite as much. It really looks like a cheese grater now with stainless steel handles. It's a work of art. It's a beautiful thing. And for the people who would buy this kind of thing, it's exactly what they want. And Apple will continue to offer all the other, the iMac Pro for $5,000, the iMac for $3,000. You could, there's still a Ford Fiesta for people who can't afford the GT. And Apple, I think, is doing the right thing by making this. They're showing this is what we can do. This is how great we can make it. And after the Mac Pro, the last Mac Pro, which they introduced in 2013, 6 years ago, this is very nice. This is what we wanted. They also announced, I think, the second most interesting thing they announced, and then we're going to have to take a break because I'm running out of time. The second most interesting thing they announced was they're going to split iOS, the iPhone and iPad operating system, in two parts. iOS for iPhones and iPad OS for iPads. They're announcing, in effect, we're going to make our iPad, which has been really running on iPhone operating system since 2010, since it came out, for almost a decade. We're going to make one that's specifically to take advantage of the screen real estate, the capabilities of the iPad. And I think that's very interesting. So this is at Apple's developer conference, just ended, and I think some very good news. This was a busy week. There's more than that, and we'll talk more about that in a bit. But we also want to take your calls. 8888 Ask Leo's the phone number. I'd love to hear from you, your questions, your comments, your suggestions. I'm going to run out and buy a Ford GT, and I'll be back in just a bit. Taking your calls.
Ooh, there's
the beautiful Twit East Side Studios, home of the Tech Guy Show. It's Kimmy Don't Take No Sheffer. Hello, Kim.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
How are you doing?
I am very well. How are you?
Good.
Yes. I've run out of small talk. That was it.
I'm sorry. That's ridiculous. $1,000 for a stand.
There you go.
I can't take it.
I actually justify it. You know why I justify it? Because the professionals who buy these monitors often don't use stands. They will get a Visa mount, which they also offer for only a few $100, and mount it on the wall on an arm or that kind of thing. And you see that frequently in edit suites and places where these monitors might live. So why put the stand on there? And if you want the stand, well, it's lovely.
Well, I feel like I know enough handy people that would fabricate one for me, and it would be a lot cooler.
There will be a brisk third-party market in stands costing under $100.
I think I know somebody who knows how to weld.
Yeah, Burke could do it.
Yeah, Burke
could build us one out of scrap lumber like that.
And it's been burked, yeah.
And it will look like it's a $6,000 monitor on a $20 scrap lumber stand, but who cares? Because the monitor will still work.
There you go.
No, but the Apple stand, it floats. Forget it. I don't care. I don't need to justify it. It's the Ford GT. You know, Ford GT's $500,000, right?
I don't know this car.
Yeah, well, you don't need to. And people don't buy a Ford GT to drive around town.
I didn't know there was any Ford that was $500,000.
Well, I'm sorry.
Is it $60,000?
It starts at $450,000.
Really?
But if you really want to, if you want wheels,
I'll look it up.
It would be like selling a car without wheels, wouldn't it? But they do. They sell a variety of different wheels on a car, right? You can yeah. So that's like that.
Oh, okay. I see what
you see what I'm saying? See where I'm going with this?
Yeah. Yeah, all the options jack up the price.
A lot of car companies do this, where they'll make a car.
The base price is $15,000, but by the time you're out the door, it's $45,000.
No, but they even make like Mercedes makes cars for racing that nobody's going to buy except maybe crazy millionaires.
Yeah.
And this is Apple's. This isn't quite even that bad, really. It's a machine that a lot of pros I've spoken to drool over, and some will actually buy because they can justify it.
Right.
Not me. Not me.
What if when I come in here next week, there'll be one sitting on the desk.
Not
there.
me. No. So, Kimmy Schaffer.
Have you ever heard of Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego?
Yeah, I love that.
Where in the World is Dr. Mom? She just wants to do a quick check-in.
Oh, she's driving somewhere. Yeah, let's find out. Thank you, Kim.
You're welcome.
Hello, Dr. Mom. Where are you?
Hey, Leo. We're calling from the Tesla Supercharger in Independence, Missouri. We're halfway across the country.
Nice. Well, Harry Truman's hometown. Are you going to go see the old Truman place?
No, because we're on kind of a schedule. Tell you one thing you can discuss with Sam.
Yeah.
That annoys the heck out of me on the Teslas at this point. You can't set up waypoints in the navigation system.
Really?
Always assumes that wherever you say you're going to be able to charge the car when you get there. It's like tonight we're staying in a little motel in Salina, Kansas.
Yeah.
There's no charger there. It says, you'll get there with 10% charge.
That's scary. Yeah. That was not my experience. I think you're doing it wrong. I know it was not my experience with the Tesla navigation. It would tell you a variety of places you could stop along the way and never would leave you that low. Check in these settings there, Dr. Mom. Dr. Mom reporting in from Missouri. Elizabeth, Palm Desert, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, I'm the antithesis of Dr. Mom. I'm calling you from the dark ages with Windows XP and a Dell laptop that I can't access.
It is kind of the quintessential, as the kids would say, first world problem. My Tesla won't let me supercharge. So tell me about the real world Elizabeth lives in.
Oh, I don't know about that, but I have a Dell Inspiron 14.
Okay.
Somebody was lovely to give me, and it has Windows 365 on it, which I don't even know, does that expire a year after it's purchased?
Yeah, it's an Office 365, and it is a yearly subscription.
Okay, but I never installed it. I mean, it supposedly came with it, but all I did was set the clock, set a password. Nobody at the library where I went for help, who they have a computer person, but was unable to help me get anything going on it. So I brought it home, set it aside.
Yeah. So, Elizabeth, let me tell you the bad news. That's not really bad news, but whenever somebody gives you a computer or you buy one used, anytime you get a used computer.
No, it was new.
Oh, it was brand new.
It was brand new, and so I went.
They never used it.
No.
Oh, well, that's nice of them.
Yeah, but now they want a whole bunch of money to reset factory settings to get past my not having recorded my password.
Oh, you forgot your password. Oh, everybody forgets their password.
Oh, thank you for making me feel better.
Once. And then they remember it from then on because it's like, this is a pain. So most of the time, and I think these Dells, it's the case, when they set up this Dell, they put in something called a hidden administrator account.
Okay.
And this is probably the real reason they do it. Is it a Windows 10 machine? Do you even know?
I don't believe so because it was a number of years ago. I think it
Oh, it's really old.
Well, maybe 3 years, I'm going to guess.
Okay. All I know is Windows 365 and that it's an Inspiron 14. That's all I can tell you about it. So this is a complicated process, but if you have a friend who has a computer that can Google this, I will tell you how. Hang on. So it's a little complicated, Elizabeth. I'm sorry, I was dealing with a technical matter. It's a little complicated, but basically there's a hidden account that has no password on the system. It's called the administrator account, and because it has no password, all you have to do is log in as that, and then you can change your password.
Okay.
And you'll be able to something you remember, and then you'll be able to get into it. So let me see how you log in to the hidden administrator account.
While you're looking for that, I want to tell you, I listen to you every week trying to learn, get a tidbit here and a tidbit there to get savvy here.
Well, I think it's working. You sound very savvy to me.
Oh, gosh. You're the sweetest. And a big thank you to Kim. She was so sweet.
Oh, she's great. Yeah. It should be enabled by default. So let me see how I can get the login going. especially if it's a Windows 7 machine. Now, see, it says enable. First, you'll need to open a command prompt in administrator mode. And I don't want to do that because you can't log in yet. As I remember, you could just type as the login admin and hit return. It might but not be admin, though. It might be admin 0 or something like that. I'm trying to remember this. And the problem is I don't know which version of Windows you have. And you don't know either.
Well,
it's probably 10. If it's 3 years old, it's 10.
So it's not Windows 365 as opposed to Windows 7?
No, the 365 thing is Office 365. That's a Microsoft Office. That's Word and Excel and all that stuff.
Okay. See, I didn't even know that, but I learned that.
No, that's good. I unfortunately have to move on. I really want to help you do this. Well, hang on. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I know normally Scott Wilkinson, our home theater geek, would be here, but he is not today. He's taken the day off. Good man. He's going to the country, as they say. But that's good because that means I have a little more time to work with Elizabeth. She's in Palm Desert. She was gifted a computer, a Dell laptop, and when you first got it 3 years ago, you created an account on there, a login, which you've since forgotten, so you can't use it.
Correct.
So when you turn it on, it says your name.
My name is there, yes, on the screen.
And then you hit return, and you don't know what to type after that.
Well, it asks for a password right under my name, but I don't have one to enter, so I'm stopped right there.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the best way to go about this. You could, of course, reinstall Windows on top of it, and that would be fine.
Cool.
Yeah, and it might not be a bad idea to do that.
Okay. Now, when Windows 10 first came out, everybody said ew, and then I've heard you say recently that it's much better.
Yeah, much better. But I think if you think it's 3 years old, that would have been Windows 10 territory.
Okay.
If it's before that, it would still be it could be Windows 8, in which case you really do want Windows 10 because that's terrible. Okay. So it just kind of depend. It kind of depends on when exactly you got it.
Okay.
I'm really trying to think what the best procedure is. So if you have a friend with a computer, you could Google enable hidden administrator mode, and it's many steps. That's why I can't really go through it on the radio.
Okay.
If you have a friend with a computer who can come over or show you, that's one thing you could try to do. The other thing is he or she can download a copy of Windows. Microsoft makes that available. Only get it from Microsoft. They call it the Windows Media Creation Tool. And get the Windows 10 version. You might as well. Okay. And then it'll be on a USB key. So you need a 16 gigabyte or more USB. You know, one of those little thumb drives?
Yeah, I have.
Perfect.
I'm good with that.
So he or she will download it, put it on that thumb drive. Microsoft explains that whole process on their Windows machine. Then you bring it to yours, you plug it in, and you boot into your Windows machine. Now, in all likelihood, you'll have to press some specific keys to get it to boot to the thumb drive, because normally that just boots to the hard drive, right? So on Dell, there's a few different keys it could be. I would start with F12, function key 12. Okay. That doesn't work, function key 1. You might have to reboot this each time. Okay. Escape or delete. So those are the typical four. F1, F12, escape or delete. But you want to get into the boot menu, or at least the system setup, where you can change the boot order, because you want to tell it boot up from this thumb drive. Okay. And then you will get into a Windows installer. You'll just wipe your drive and start over, and it'll be just like it came from the factory.
I'll give it a go.
And you have a postcard that says Office 365 activation. I think that's what you probably have, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, if you said it came with Office.
I kind of lost when I opened the box. I thought, what is it?
Yeah. So I think they pretty much stopped doing this, but for the last few years, Microsoft would ship this 1-year free trial of Office. Office is the word processor, the spreadsheet. You may not even need it.
Well, I do use a word processor quite a bit.
Okay. Honestly, there are great free choices from Google and Microsoft both, but if you feel like I like Office 365, I think it's it's about $7 or $8 a month, about $100 a year if you want to keep using it. But you'll get at least 90 days, maybe a year of free, depending on which version you got. But on that postcard, there'll be a serial number if you still have it that you'll need to enter.
Okay.
But the real key is now somebody's saying you could also take it to the Best Buy. Lawn Dog's saying take it to the Best Buy down the road in Palm Desert. And they could probably unlock it for less than $50. It might be the easiest
No, they
solution.
want 100. That's a little out of my
I
reach.
want 100. The heck with them.
Yeah.
Come on, Geek Squad. I'd do it for free, Elizabeth, but I'm just not anywhere near you.
Bless your heart.
So,
Thank you for being so kind.
oh, you're welcome. Good luck.
Bye.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
it's a nice. You can get it working. Somebody said you need a ute. What's a ute? A young person. You need a ute who can, of course, will sit down, type real fast, say, there you go. A ute could do it just like that. 8888 ask Leo. Some of the office stores, maybe Staples, it shouldn't be more than $50. Maybe they've upped the minimum. That's sad if that's the case. Alice, Los Angeles, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Alice.
Hello.
Hello.
So I have a question I'm embarrassed to say because of your commercial just recently. The difference between remote PC and go to my PC.
Very similar. Basically same functionality. Pick the one you like best. Remote PC is, of course, our sponsor, so it would make me, it would be a personal favor to me if you would try it. But yeah, the whole idea of remote access. And by the way, Microsoft often ships Windows with a remote access product if you have a professional version. Although I should warn anybody using Microsoft's RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol, that there's a massive flaw in it in any version earlier than Windows 10, and you must update it before you use it. In fact, you must update it even if you don't use it because, well, the bad guys are a-coming. In fact...
Quick question.
Yes.
Horse whinnied right when you said whether you're talking about remote PC or go to my PC.
Remote PC and go to my PC both do similar things.
Right, but about the flaw you were talking about, was that
That's in Microsoft's own remote desktop protocol that they build in. But if you have Windows 10, you don't have to worry about it.
Okay, I'm on 10. Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't have to worry about that. So there are lots of ways to do this free. What you pay for when you get a commercial product like Remote PC is support and often performance. The inexpensive things like VNC, which is an open source way to do this, or Microsoft's own remote desktop protocol, sometimes are hard to use, often are very slow. So it really comes down to how easy to use it is and how
okay, because I've been using Go to My PC
oh, you're fine
for
then you're fine.
7 or so years.
If you're happy with it, that's good.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
You were advertising it.
Well, yes, they're my
It was better.
I'll tell it's better because it's half the cost.
Well, there's that, yeah.
So if you get Remote PC for the 10 computers and you take the Leo deal, it's 50,
right, 90%.
90%.
Yeah.
It's $52 for a year. Go to my PC is about $100 for a year, a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm going to see when I renewed my license with them, and then maybe try them for a year. Try the new guy.
Yeah, you don't have to buy it to try it. And you could even do that before you renew. Go to my PC. Just download Remote PC and see if it feels faster for you, because I think it's faster.
Okay, great.
But
well, thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm glad you asked.
And I'm sorry about the horse whinny.
Well, I hope you're going riding.
Unfortunately, I'm just doing a little bit of feeding and hugging and kissing, but maybe tomorrow.
Did you bring carrots or apples?
Actually, pellets.
Oh, see, I was told you shouldn't feed horses carrots and apples. Is that right?
No, you can. You can. You just have to be careful not to do it by hand all the time because
Well,
it
I
makes
always-
it a little mouthy.
Yeah, I keep my palm way open, so there's nothing to get. But if
I
anytime,
volunteer with the sheriffs, and so I have a lot of people putting their hands up in the horse's mouth.
no, they'll bite your
So I
finger.
taught her from a baby to not move her lips no matter what.
Oh, isn't that sweet? So this is a horse you feed all the time.
Well, I feed her in a bucket.
Yeah, you're smart.
Just be on the safe side,
You're
yeah.
smart. I love
Yeah.
horses. You must read. There is a New Yorker article this week called "How to Draw a Horse." It's free online. Anybody who loves horses must read it.
All right.
How to Draw a Horse.
I'll look into it.
Actually, anybody who loves lovers and people and great cartoons, it'll make you cry. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More of your calls right after this. So, Chumley, you don't like it when people so if I know I'm going to see horses, actually, it's usually Lisa that does this. She'll always, she'll try to remember to put a carrot in her pocket or an apple in her pocket or something like that. Horses are so sweet. But you don't like it if people do that? Okay. I will remember, Chumley, when I'm near your horse, not to feed it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the number. If you want to talk high tech. Americans are now spending more time watching their devices than watching TV. If you look at the graph, this is from eMarketer. If you look at the graph over the last few years, imagine, if you will, my hand in the air, TV up at the top, my hand well below it, the mobile devices at the bottom, slowly climbing, getting closer and closer together, TV going down, mobile devices going up. The cross point, the point they crossed right now, just happened, just this minute, where mobile device time is now more than TV time. U.S. adults' TV time dropped 9 minutes. Digital video time increased 8 minutes. So there you go. But I just want to say there should be a third line, time spent listening to the radio. And I bet you that's way up there. Of course, if you put podcasts in there, I don't know. But I bet you you're listening right now, right? 8888 Ask Leo. Eddie, San Diego, you're next. Hi, Eddie.
Hello.
Hello.
Got a question. I'm kind of a dinosaur. I'm running an old desktop with a tower, Windows 7. Got a notice that Microsoft is going to stop supporting Windows 7 in January of 2020.
Yeah.
And I want to buy a new tower, stay with Windows, and just any recommendations for good manufacturers and also hardware. What generation processor? How much RAM should I get?
So if you get a new tower, obviously you will. This is one way to upgrade.
I'm just going to go with new hardware.
Buying a whole new computer. That's the old Windows way, by the way. Most people never upgraded Windows until they bought a new computer, then they'd get the newest version of Windows. That was how people upgraded. You don't have to do that. For $90 you could buy Windows 10.
Yeah, this thing's getting old.
Okay. I don't want to discourage you. The PC industry needs you. So I do not want to discourage you. We need you to buy a new computer every few years. People stop doing that. What is wrong with you people? So when it comes to towers, I kind of like Dell, to be honest with you. That's basically, and I put my money where my mouth is. When we had to buy new workstations for our editors, we replaced all of the workstations with Dell Precisions. Those are probably higher end than you need. But I would look at the Dell Tower computers. They still make them, and I think they're very good, and I think Dell support is good.
Yeah, I was thinking of Dell.
Yep.
What about amount of RAM? How much should I get?
What do you do?
Oh, just general stuff. Check, cruise the internet, check, bank account.
Ironically,
I'm not a developer.
The browser, particularly Chrome and Firefox, browsers are notorious RAM hogs. Normally, you say 8 gigs would be plenty for anybody, unless you're editing giant photos or videos or, making music with 1,000 tracks, things like that. I'd say your sweet spot's probably 16 gigabytes of RAM.
16 gig.
Yeah, because Chrome is a hog. If you like to keep Chrome tabs open, you'll like having the extra RAM.
Yeah, I do. I use Chrome all the time. And the newest generation processor is, what should I look for?
The latest is the Intel 9th generation processors. But for you, there's some other things you could consider. You don't need the latest and greatest. You might get an 8th generation Intel. I wouldn't go far beyond that. Or look at an AMD processor. AMD processors are a little bit slower, but they're less expensive. Okay. And a lot of times you can get a better deal. I don't know if Dell sells AMDs. I bet they do, but it's certainly you don't need to spend like crazy. And if you're just doing basic computing, an i5, an 8th generation i5 would be fine. That would be as good enough for anybody.
Okay, that gives me a place to start.
Yep. Have fun.
All right, thanks. Yeah.
Always fun buying a new computer. I like. Let's see, HP, Dell, Lenovo. Those are the big three, and all of them make nice tower cases. Honestly, for most people, I wouldn't buy a Windows PC these days. I wouldn't buy a Mac either these days. Unless you're doing something you need Windows or Mac for, like there's a program you have to use, for your business or because you like to edit photos or draw or something. If there's nothing like that, if it's just surfing the net, getting email, the kind of thing most people do all the time, I think getting something based on Google's Chrome OS, a Chromebook, or if you want a tower, you can get a Chrome box, it's certainly more affordable and probably a better idea. It's a lot more secure because it's a lot simpler. And I see a lot of people getting iPads, and I can't, especially with the new iPad OS, with Apple kind of giving better computing facilities to their iPad, making it more than just a glorified iPhone. I think an iPad's a good choice. Again, more secure, less expensive, and some places more convenient. Chat room says, Leo, you missed a bet. You should have convinced him to buy one of those new Apple Mac Pros. I wouldn't do that to my worst enemy. But people who are going to buy Mac Pros know they need it. This is like this. I have to have a Mac Pro. I need it. And price is no object. In most cases, it isn't an object. They're not looking at the price because either they're charging it back to a client, which actually means they want to spend as much as they can for the computer because they're going to take 10% or 20% off the top. So the more they spend, the more they make. And even if they're not charging it back to the client, if you're working in the movie industry, editing film, spending $20,000 or $30,000 on a computer is no big deal. That's your main tool. How much did you spend for that combine harvester? I mean, if this is the thing you use day in, day out, don't cheap out. But for the rest of us, we're just using computers kind of to access the internet, to, buy stuff, pay bills, that kind of thing. A Chromebook is probably a better choice, honestly. Dale in Santa Monica, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Dale.
Hi.
Hi.
Is it possible, as I'm getting older, I don't use the computer that much, but one thing I do is I do some games. And I was wondering, is it possible to control an Xbox or a PlayStation with a keyboard and mouse?
Oh, that's interesting. But what would you do with the keyboard and mouse?
I would use that instead of the controller. Right now I use the keyboard and mouse on a Mac to play the games that I play, and I'm not going to get another high-end Mac.
So yes, but the games won't support it necessarily. You can just plug in a keyboard and mouse on the USB ports on an Xbox One, and it'll work fine. But not all games will. Most games, they figure, well, you got an Xbox, you want to use the Xbox controller. So you just have to try it on a per-game basis. And this is why, by the way, this is why PC gamers say we're better, because when you game on a PC, of course you use a mouse and keyboard. And a lot of gamers believe that's better control. So sometimes, yes, you can. Sometimes it's supported. It's built into the operating system because, honestly, Xbox is just Windows. And some games will let you use it, but not all games. So check with the game to make sure first.
Okay, so it's game by game.
It's game by game. And, you already have a keyboard and mouse, so plug it into the USB port, see what happens.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Thanks for calling. Yeah, it's just Windows. Has many of the same facilities as Windows does. 8888 Ask Leo, that's my number. Website, techguylabs.com. Your comments are welcome. It's free. More of your calls right after this. Our show today brought to you, I love my friends at DO, by DigitalOcean. Easily run production applications with DigitalOcean. It's sometimes a little hard to explain, but I'll give you an analogy. I talk about this all the time. I remember when Kevin Rose, my good friend, started Dig. He was so excited. I remember, in fact, he called me and said, we got our first server. But in those days, not so long ago, when you started your own startup and you got your own server, what it meant is he'd rented a location in a network operations center called a co-location. He went out and bought a server, brought it down into the colo, put it in the rack, installed an operating system, configured it, installed his software, crossed his fingers, plugged it in, hoped it worked. And then he had to go back down and fix it whenever it didn't. And this is an expensive, time-consuming process every startup used to have to go through. Fast forward to the 21st century, to 2019, now you've got DigitalOcean, which makes it literally a minute away from, if he were starting Dig today, he would be a minute away from having Dig up and running. Here, let's go to my DigitalOcean. Let's create what they call a droplet, a cloud server. And by the way, these cloud servers have all kinds of useful features, standard general purpose or CPU optimized configuration, perfect for building and testing, but even for production. You can get all the features you need. Let's make this really easy. Let's look at they've got a variety of operating systems, as you can see. Debian, CentOS, FreeBSD, a variety of container distributions. So if you use Docker, they support Kubernetes. And then they have the one-button, one-click marketplace. So I think he would today, he'd be using Node, right? Node.js. So let's set up a LAMP stack with Node.js. Now I'm cheap. Because we're going to build this initial application. I don't need a CPU optimized, but you can get it. And in fact, I'm going to be really cheap, and I'm just going to get the $5 a month gigabyte, one CPU, 25 gig storage, terabyte of plan. And if I need more, I can easily upgrade. You can have backups, $1 a month to automatically back it up. Actually, it's less. It's 20% of the droplet price, whatever that works out to. So it could actually be less. But for me, it'll be $1 a month. I'm going to add block storage if I want. I don't need it. Pick the server. Pick one near you if you want to add IPv6 or monitoring, private networking. I always turn on SSH, so I have access to my SSH key. And I'm going to name this, let's call it Dig 5. And I'm going to create it. Now watch this, because this is what's so awesome. In less than a minute, something that took Kevin weeks and thousands of dollars, I'm going to have a server up and running, ready to run my application with a public IP address, a LAMP stack, all the tools I need. You can get Docker, GitLab, Jenkins, Plesk, cPanel, WordPress, whatever you want. Configure it however you need. Predictable pricing. They've got cloud firewalls, monitoring and alerts, team accounts, full DNS management, 4 nines uptime, 12 global data centers. I'm talking DigitalOcean. do.co/twit. If you go today, you'll sign up and receive a free $50 credit. do.co/twit. DigitalOcean is transforming the way startups get started and businesses run on the internet. And look at that. I got my server. It's that easy. do.co/twit. Why, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, anything with a chip in it. We talk tech here each weekend. I hope you will, if you have a question or a comment or a suggestion, call me. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number, 888-827-5536, toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, you can still call. Just use Skype out to do it. There's a website, free to use. They're all week long. So if you hear something and you can't remember, or maybe you just want to listen to an old show, because past shows, audio and video, are up there. It's techguylabs.com, techguylabs.com. Well, this could have been a big headline. Facebook investors vote to fire Mark Zuckerberg. 68% of outside investors want Zuckerberg out, up from 51% last year. Except Mark Zuckerberg has 61% controlling interest in the company. And he just goes, no, not going to do it. Sorry. Bye. 83% of outside shareholders backed a proposal to scrap Facebook's dual-class share structure. See, the way it works, if you buy stock in Facebook, you're a Class A shareholder. You get 1 vote. If you're Mark Zuckerberg, you're a Class B shareholder. You get 10 votes a share. 10 votes. Zuckerberg happens to own 75% of the Class B stock. He's got 60% of the voting power. Even though the shareholders overwhelmingly, 68%, wanted him out, he goes, yeah, well, that's nice. Why even bother giving them a vote? Thanks for your input. So I guess Mark will stay there. I'm reading a wonderful book, just came out by one of my favorite sci-fi authors, Neil Stephenson. It's called Fall, or Dodge in Hell. And one of the things that's very interesting about it, it's a near future. It starts in the present, but it becomes a near future story. The internet becomes so unreliable for a variety of reasons in terms of facts that nobody really uses it as an information source anymore. It becomes so overwhelmed with fake news that anybody who has any money hires professional editors to filter out the junk so that you can use the special little part of the internet that's accurate and ignore the rest. The unfortunate, sad side of this is the vast majority of people who can't afford private editing are stuck with an internet that is loaded with such garbage that the nation has fractured into many, many pieces, each believing different sets of facts. Maybe it's not such a distant future. Maybe it's a little closer. It's clearly Neil Stephenson's commentary, and we're not there yet, right? For the most part, we can all agree on certain common facts, but it does kind of make sense, because of conspiracy theories and their unique power to sway us and the power of the internet. There's a significant number of people, there didn't used to be, but they're back now, who believe the earth is flat. In contrary to all evidence, by the way, if you've ever been in an airplane, you can see the earth is not flat. But contrary to all evidence, there are people who believe the earth is flat. And it turns out they got this idea from watching YouTube videos. That's actually, this used to be a thing, the Flat Earth Society, and it quickly became a joke because as soon as we got satellites and space travel and airplanes, people could see for themselves, it's not really flat. But YouTube's brought it all back, and that and many, many other crazy ideas. And, I think part of the problem is YouTube's recommendation engine. This is really the problem. There's an article in the New York Times today about a young man, 21-year-old, who became radicalized. He was just completely like your next-door neighbor, but became completely radicalized because he started watching YouTube and started following the recommendations. The making of a YouTube radical. Caleb Kane was a college dropout looking for direction. He turned to YouTube. Soon he was pulled into a far-right universe watching thousands of videos filled with conspiracy theories, misogyny, and racism. And now he says, I was brainwashed. Great article by one of our best tech reporters, Kevin Roos. And it's a fascinating story, not so much about Mr. Kane, but about the power of YouTube and the YouTube recommendation engine. I feel like they should just turn that off. This is what gets YouTube in a lot of trouble. You go there to, you search for something, you watch it, fine. But then it says, well, people who like this. And we've seen this happen time and time again. You go there to, I'm interested in ketogenic diets, so I watch that. And then it says, I might be interested in this, and it's a vegetarian video. Okay, I'll watch that. Oh, you might be interested in this. It's a vegan video. It gets more and more extreme. Oh, yeah, I'll watch that. And pretty soon you're down a rabbit hole, and you're doing what some protesters did just the other day out of town. They went to liberate chickens from a chicken farm. They liberated them, which some people call stealing. But it's a matter of, I guess, depends on what YouTube videos you're watching. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. 888-827-5536. Let's talk to Nancy in Los Angeles. Hello, Nancy.
Hello.
How are
Hi
you?
there. Can you hear? Great. Thank you very much.
Welcome. I hear you well. How do you hear me?
Oh, very well.
Good.
I've been waiting.
Yes, you're very patient. Thank you. What can I do for you?
Well, I bought a small HP laptop, smaller than my big one that I use on the desk. And I didn't realize it said a streaming laptop, and I didn't understand or know what that meant. So,
well, I don't either. What is a stream? This is not a common term. What is a streaming laptop?
It says HP Stream Laptop.
Oh, it's the brand name, the Stream. Yeah.
Okay. So what I think it does is it connects to the internet through Wi-Fi, okay, in your house or your office.
Yeah.
I don't have cable or the Wi-Fi. I do everything through my phone and through my iPad. So I have a big laptop on my desk that I toggle to my iPad. And
so your laptop uses the internet connection your iPad has?
Yes, or my phone.
Or your phone. And, of course, you're paying the cell carrier for that internet connection. So that's where you get your data.
Correct.
Yeah. You can do the same thing with the HP Stream.
But, I'm not set up right, and so I can't. I've only been on it a couple of times, and I don't know how to get on it every time the correct way.
So the trick is to turn your iPad or your iPhone into what we call a hotspot.
Okay, I have that. So I'm in my settings.
Yeah, I can't walk you through it, but you get the idea.
Right.
You're going to go into the settings. You're going to turn on hotspot. What you will get then, you'll see in the settings, is the name of the hotspot, which will be something, I don't know, Nancy's iPhone, whatever.
Okay, yes.
And then you'll get a password. That's to secure it, because you don't want Joe next door using your hotspot. It's costing you money. So you'll need that, both the name of the hotspot and the password. Then you go to the Stream, and you click that little Wi-Fi icon in the lower right-hand corner, the one that looks like a radar, kind of, the triangle.
Yeah.
And and you say, if your phone or your iPad's near enough, it should show the name of it, Nancy's iPhone or whatever it is. You click on that, and you'll enter in the password. And as long as your phone...
Which password?
The one that it says on the phone or the iPad. Remember I said it will give you the name of an access point. It'll also give you a password you need to use to log into that access point. And as long as your phone or iPad remains in hotspot mode, you'll have Wi-Fi access on your Stream.
Got it. Okay, I get it now. So that's the password I was looking for from my phone.
It's the Wi-Fi password.
iPad.
It's very confusing. I know. Believe me, I understand, Nancy, and I see this all the time. Family members and so forth. Password can mean many things. You have many passwords. Which password? Do I need my Apple password? Do I need my Windows password? What password are you talking about? And it's not immediately clear, and I completely understand that. We need a better way. The term has been highly overloaded. Websites have passwords, apps have passwords, your Wi-Fi access point has passwords. To make it even more complicated, your Wi-Fi router has a password that isn't the Wi-Fi access point password. For a while, Wi-Fi router companies put a push button. Remember the WPS button? You'd push the button on the Wi-Fi access point, and then press a button on your phone or your device, and they would exchange the information. Turned out that was hideously insecure. I mean, appallingly insecure. So it's been removed from most devices. And in fact, if you still have a WPS button, an automatic one-button connection button, you might want to disable that in the software of your router, because it's a bad idea. As one might actually if you're thinking about it, as one might guess. 80. Anyway, I'm glad I could help. The Stream is a very inexpensive. Basically, it's HP's, and there are going to be many of these response to Chromebooks. Remember we were talking about how Chromebooks simple, cheap, lightweight, just basically for surfing the net. Microsoft wants to do this. It's killing them that they're losing business to the Chromebook. So Microsoft's going to be releasing something called Windows Lite that will be that, a really dumbed down version of Windows. And companies like HP, the Stream is $200. They're selling cheap computers that are basically Chromebooks. But the problem I have with it, it's still Windows. And honestly, if you're buying this, you don't need Windows. You should get a Chromebook. It'd be a much more secure and much more straightforward. And just as inexpensive. 8888 Ask Leo. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More of your calls coming up.
After this word from our sponsor.
The Earth, yeah. You nailed it. The Earth is flat in a round ball. It's flat if you open up the ball. Oh, the edge is curved. I get it. That's why it looks curved. Oh, it's fun. It's so much fun. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. The phone number, 888-827-5536. Chris. Hey, Chris in Miami. How you doing?
Chris in Miami.
I know you. How many cups of coffee have you had today, Chris?
Well, let's start off with the fact that you only had one full cup so far. I'm in at least 6 cups easy.
A word of warning for those of you listening. No, this is my second cup because I have one in the morning when I get up. I have a cappuccino. Which isn't even that caffeinated, right? And then I'm having a brewed cup now. So that's all. And that'll be it. If I have any more than that, I'll be like you. I won't be able to sleep. Do you sleep?
No. Well, because I have to get ready to come on this show, so I should technically make a full pot, right?
No, stop. You're perfect just as you are, Chris.
I really am. And
Just
that's why I always said, Leo, I like you just the way you are because you're one amazing fella. I got to tell you, we're lucky on this planet to have you.
Oh, you're always way too complimentary, Chris. No need. I like you even if you're not nice to me. But you are. So I still like you.
I don't do it for those reasons. I'm just being me.
You're
honest.
sincere.
I don't want anything. I don't need anything. I'm just saying. I think you're the bit of the ball. You're amazing. Anyway,
this love fest must end. You're making people cringe.
Oh, well, we don't do that.
What can I do for you, Chris?
All right. Well, right now we're getting a new iMac. We're looking at a 21 and a half.
Now, Chris, you should buy the Mac Pro.
Yeah, right. $35,000 later.
That's just my guess. It could be less. It could be $32,000.
Well, when I saw that and they released that, I got so excited I almost dropped my full cup of coffee because you've always talked about wanting this.
I've been saying for years, bring back the cheese grater.
There it is. I was so excited. I called 6 friends and said, Leo finally got what he wanted.
They're like, and now I can't afford it.
It's so expensive, though.
It's actually, it's not that I can't afford it. I could, I buy cars. I could afford it. It's not that I couldn't afford it. Right. It's that there's no reason for me to spend that much money on a computer. I foolishly bought the iMac Pro, which started at $5,000. I'm done. Apple. Don't be throwing any more expensive computers at me. I am done. I'm complete.
A lot of money.
It's too much money. I don't need to spend
the stand alone is like $1,000, and I'm like, what?
I know. Isn't that funny, the monitor stand? But it's a really good monitor stand, Chris.
I know it is. Yeah, it's amazing what it does. I know, but $1,000?
No, I know. It's nuts. The real point, they should never have announced it. They realize now that tactically that was just dumb. Because the people who are going to buy it don't care. And that was the real point. But for some reason they couldn't keep from telling people it was $1,000. Sometimes discretion is a good thing. Just keep it to yourself.
It is. Yeah.
So you're going to buy a regular iMac.
I'm going to go with probably a 21 and a half to a 27 inch. But right now, my Mac is running out of memory, and I have a SATA in here, 1 terabyte, which is stupid. But I wanted to ask you about pricing because I know I could probably sit here all afternoon finding pricing, but there's a place down here called ProAccess. They want to install an SSD for $500, and then another $300 for like installation, transfer data. $800 seems like it's a little bit excessive. So I said, you know what? I'm going to call Leo. They said, go ahead. I said, because I know he'll give me the real answer.
Here's the issue.
Later.
Here's the issue. Of course, that hard drive by itself is not that expensive. How big is it? A terabyte?
2 terabytes. Well, the one I have in my Mac, but the one I want to have installed is a 2 terabyte.
2 terabytes. Well, those are expensive.
No. Solid state.
Yeah, an SSD, a 2 terabyte SSD, you're talking $400 or $500 for the drive alone.
Oh, okay.
Here's why it's so expensive to put it in an iMac. Just go and watch a couple of YouTube videos on upgrading the drive in your iMac. And this is why you will never want to do this. First, you need a big suction cup. Sounds like I'm joking. I am not.
No.
Because in order to do this, you have to use a big suction cup to remove the glass on the front of the screen. You get it to a hard drive from the front through the glass. It is a nightmare procedure. I actually did this once. Well, I had one of my engineers do it, and I was watching her agog. I thought, okay, this is not something you ever want to do. My general recommendation when you buy a Mac is get it with the drive you need.
Yes.
Now, the iMacs, you can install more memory fairly easily. There's just a little hatch underneath on most of them. But you know, get it with the drive you need. The aftermarket drive will not be cheaper just because the installation process is nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And do get an SSD. That's going to make it much, much better. You'll be much happier. Apple charges a lot. They may even charge $800 for a 2 terabyte drive. In fact, my guess is they do. So maybe that.
What would you recommend? What would you recommend? I'm sorry.
Here's what I would recommend.
For external also. I need
external. That's my recommendation. Get a decent drive for internal, big enough to hold Mac OS in your programs. No more than 512 gigs.
What brand would you suggest?
No, just get the Apple one. Get the Apple one internal. And then you can get, and there are many, many choices. I use, Seagates. There are fancy drives from Go Technology designed to go with Macs. That doesn't matter. Just get a Thunderbolt 3 external. Now, I'll tell you what I got, Chris.
What'd you get?
I would probably not recommend this, but I like to recommend for Apple stuff going to Otherworld Computing, macsales.com.
Okay.
Because they sell external drives, and they have a variety of external drives. And actually, what you want, ideally, if you get a Thunderbolt 3 drive with that new Mac, it will be as fast, maybe even faster than the internal drive. And that's why I say you don't need a big internal drive. You get an internal drive just for the operating system and apps. And then you put all your data on an external drive, and then maybe you have two of those if you want for backup, that kind of thing. But they make Thunderbolt 3. You can look at their Thunderbolt 3 drives. They make a variety of Thunderbolt 3 drives. The one I bought was a little pricey. And I probably, in fact, it doesn't look like, do they still sell it? It looks like they might not sell it anymore. It was, let me just look at my account because I don't remember the exact name. But it was.
But I like the toys. I like the toys that you buy.
Yeah, this is a toy. This is a good toy. And you know what I do, and this was my mistake, is sometimes I do, you ever make an impulse purchase, Chris?
Yes.
Yeah, especially if you're hopped up on caffeine.
I knew that was coming back out.
I'm never going to let you forget. He sells coffee, folks. That's why he loves his coffee. Let me just look at my order. Let me just view my orders here, and I'll tell you what I bought. It was crazy expensive. $1,283.
Wow.
For the Thunderblade Ultra High Performance Thunderbolt 3 storage solution.
Do you use that? Do you actually use it? Or?
Okay, get ready for this. By the way, that's 2 terabytes, $11.99. Wow. Okay, so it's expensive. But it's Thunderbolt 3 full speed, 40 gigabytes a second. So it's very, very fast.
Which is nice. Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
It comes in a Pelican case. It comes with specially designed just to hold it Pelican case, and with a special certificate of authenticity. There's all sorts of crap. I have never once used it. I've had it for 6 months. I have never once used it. I bought it in January. And I just, it's beautiful. Actually, it's less expensive now. It's $9.99 for 2 terabytes. So I paid $200 extra because I got it right when it came out. But it is a really good. And so Thunderbolt 3 costs a lot more than just the bare drive, and this is in a very rugged enclosure with heat sink. It's stackable. It's daisy chainable. It's a really nice external drive, and I will eventually use it. I just haven't gotten around to it.
You're busy.
Yeah, it's got a 3-year warranty. So if you want the toy, go to maxsales.com and look at their Thunderbolt drives. They're not all that expensive, but you want ideally one that will use the full Thunderbolt 3 throughput, which is 40 gigabytes a second.
That sounds nice, Leo. Wow,
it's as good as these. But the reason it's so expensive, it has 2 NVMe M.2 drives inside, and the Thunderbolt 3 interface is really, really fast. So that's what you're paying for. Okay.
That would be good.
Small drive inside, data drive outside. That's always the best way to go with it.
That's always the best way to go.
Yep.
Okay, good. Yep.
Have fun, Chris.
Thanks, Leo. I appreciate it.
Spend that money. Drink that coffee.
Well, just like you, I learned from the best.
I know. I've got such a bad habit. I don't even want to tell you the camera I just bought. Don't even ask. Don't ask. Johnny Jet.
What kind of camera did you buy?
Don't ask. I told you. Johnny is back home.
I am.
I don't understand. I thought you said you were going last week. You said you were traveling.
I did go. I only go away for a night or two every time now. But so last week when I got off the show, the next day I went to check out the new Disney. I spent the night at the Anaheim Marriott.
Did you go to the Star Wars?
Yeah, of course.
Now I'm actually jealous. I wasn't really jealous of all your great travels before, but now I am. So you got in, you went in, you didn't have to wait in line with 1,000 people?
I was at a private party, believe it or not. They shut down Disney for the IPW International Powwow. It's every year they have this massive conference, 6,000 people. They bring in, it's mostly people from international because they're bringing in $5 billion worth of business to the U.S. and they roll the red carpet out for these guys. And at Disney, it was actually a blue carpet. But, even with the private party, everyone just made a beeline.
Yeah, I don't care about, there could be Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, and Steve Jobs back from the dead standing together talking, and I would say, where's Galaxy's Edge?
Some people were running. I ran into one of my buddies who was running. I can't talk. I got to get in line. Even with a private party, there was a line to get a 90-minute line to get on that ride.
Did you get Smuggler's Run? Did you not get in the line?
I wasn't going to wait 90 minutes. The party was only 3.5 hours.
You didn't get on the Smuggler's Run? By the way, if you next time, it's worth the 90-minute wait because the line, it's the best line ever. It has, if you're a Star Wars fan, it has more Star Wars Easter eggs in it. I mean, there was a great article on Polygon, I think, or maybe it was, I think it was Polygon, documenting as many of and these guys were crazy Star Wars fans, so they recognize a lot. This is something to see. It's the best line waiting experience of all time. You nitwit.
So actually, I should make their app. If you go, you got to download their app because there's all little things you can do with it.
Is there a bird? Is there a bird in there with you?
Actually, that is my scheduled app of the week, which it's called Dawn Chorus, DAWN. And I just tweeted it. I'll put it in the chat room right now. I like
that. This is for people who live in the country because we hear birds when I wake up. I love it. Now, some of the birds are not the best birds. They send us their worst birds. Crows, the peacocks go.
Dawn Chorus?
But that's what I'm saying. Maybe I need this app.
Okay, so this app is a free app. It's on iOS, Android, and it's actually developed by the Carnegie Museum of Natural History and the Innovation Studio. Sorry, I got my mind on the summit still. But it's all birds native to the northeastern U.S.
So and they're pretty songbirds, not crows.
Exactly. So there's 20 birds you can choose from, and you can choose, I think, up to 5 to do one.
There is a mistake here. They have a blue jay on the icon. Those blue jays are not notoriously beautiful. They're jays. I mean, they're beautiful looking, but they don't sound good.
No, I could put one on, but
you can eliminate the blue jay from my Dawn Chorus. This looks beautiful. What a nice
blue
app.
jay.
Go ahead, play
the blue jay's not that great.
Yeah, who wants to hear blue jay when they wake up? The But
they have a Baltimore Oriole.
Let's hear some more birds. We have a mockingbird who sings all night. Drives me nuts.
Brown creeper.
One bird.
Can you hear that?
Yeah, that sounds nice.
So anyway, my sister told me it's her favorite app, and so
this is free too. Carnegie Mellon gives it away.
They do, and you know what's great? I mean, especially when I'm traveling is when I'm using my alarm the most because I'm in a routine when I'm home. But when I'm traveling, and all of a sudden I wake up to my iPhone alarm, and my hearts just start beating so much faster because it's blaring. So, having an alarm like this, it makes it a lot more peaceful to wake up. So, I think I recommend it for travelers and if you want to snooze, you can just shake your phone for 5. It will shake it and it will snooze for 5 minutes.
Nice. Dawn course. I'm putting it on my phone right now.
But always test it before you do it because it says it will work on silent. But actually, I just got the notification now and it just showed up, but I had to press a button for it to make the noise. So
okay. Yeah, if you're relying on it for your alarm, but you could have an alarm as well. I mean, right? You don't have.
Yeah, of course you can do both.
Yeah, do both.
But.
So this Star Wars thing, forget the app.
Yeah, let's go back. Let's go back to Star Wars.
Nobody cares about the bird song. All right, I'm gonna give you a pass. You didn't want to wait in line for Smuggler's Run.
Well, one of my friends waited in it. They said they ruined their whole night because it was 90 minutes long.
Yeah, that would have been the whole
3
party.
hours.
Yeah, no, it would have been the whole party. That's why you had to run.
And when they close down Disney, everyone's there. They have all the bands. They have free food, free drinks. I mean, you roll up, get a lobster roll, whatever you want to do. And I was like,
chose a lobster roll over Star Wars? What is wrong with you?
And a corn dog. And you don't even want to know what
Did the lobster roll at least look like Admiral Akbar?
I don't even know what that is.
I know, because this is why you didn't go check out. Did you at least go in?
I did go in the bar. I did go in that bar, yes.
Yeah.
I definitely did.
That bar.
And I mean, awesome. And
Oga's
the only place I
Cantina.
didn't go in was a lightsaber because you had to pay $240 to buy a lightsaber.
Oh no!
If you do go in, you can bring 2 guests.
How does it look? I mean, is you feel like
awesome.
you
feel like
you're on
another
Tatooine.
planet.
Yeah.
You feel like you're on another planet.
Yeah.
It almost feels like a movie set, but I tried the milk, the green and blue milk. It's really yellow milk. I don't know why they say green. It looked yellow to me unless I'm colorblind. Tastes like a slush puppy, but it's made with non-dairy. I tried the popcorn they have. They call it pop grains. They don't call it popcorn.
They don't have corn in the galaxy a long time ago, far, far away. There's no corn because the Indians invented it. You should know that.
I should know that. I was a big fan of Star Wars growing up. I watched, the original Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and then I stopped watching them.
I'm so jealous. I really want to see this. It just opened earlier this month, and people are going crazy about it. But yeah, the lines are very long. That's why I was kind of thinking maybe you'd want to take advantage of this special offer.
You know what? I just did not want to wait 90 minutes. Yeah. And you have to, right now you need a reservation to get into that park.
I know, it's crazy. But it's going to open to the public in a couple of weeks, right?
June 23rd.
Yeah.
But
81 days.
Hollywood. I mean, people are stealing, not in our group, but I've read out later that people have been stealing the sporks that they have, the forks.
They're
selling them on eBay for like $70.
That's terrible.
So now they're going to make plastic forks out of it. It's
Humans
ridiculous.
Are awful. We are awful.
They can be. Honestly, they can be.
Star Wars Galaxy Edge will be opening in Disney World August 29th. It is now open at Disneyland. And, man, it looks so cool. I'm so jealous.
By the way, what I learned while I was there, you know what Disneyland's called?
What?
The happiest place on earth.
Yes.
And Disney World is called.
Trademark Walt Disney, 1956.
How about Disney World? It's called something different.
The less happy place?
No, it's the most magical place on earth.
Oh. I have a soft spot for Disneyland, and I really do want to see the new Star Wars. Oh,
everyone was in Star Wars. Literally, I was going on these other rides, and there was no one else around. I could have rode the log ride by myself and had a picture, and I was going to, but a couple of my friends did, and they got soaked. So I was just doing the other ones around. But I mean,
I wish you'd called me before. Did you need a +1? I would have flown down.
They would allow it.
I'm in the press. I'm in the media.
Well, then you would have gotten in. So,
I hear they treat media people pretty well. Johnny Jet, I don't know. You've gone down a peg in my estimation. I hate to say it. JohnnyJet.com. No, I'm just kidding. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Bring it up.
It sounds like a lot of fun. Johnny Jet, the website, lots of information there. I hope there's some pictures at least of Disneyland.
There are some pictures on my Instagram, Johnny Jet.
And Instagram, follow him, and on Twitter too. Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you.
Jack's going to kill you when he's old enough to figure out what you did. Actually, his generation, they probably won't be Star Wars fans.
No?
No,
I don't know.
It's your generation. It's not even my generation. I was an adult when it came out, so it honestly doesn't resonate that much with me.
When did it come out? 77?
77.
I was just a young lad.
Yeah, I was 21. I remember waiting in line to see it and loving it, but I think if you were 12 or 8 when you saw it first.
I remember seeing it.
Yeah, then it's going to imprint like a baby duck.
I loved it. Fortunately at the party I made some contacts, so hopefully I can go down again.
I feel like I should call the people at Disney because they do have a very good media policy.
I'm happy to share the email that I have.
Yeah. What I do is pay full price because I'm an idiot. Also because I don't want any attention. I just want to go. I don't want to have to be walked around with a representative and all that stuff. So,
right. Well, I mean,
there's a price you pay for the media thing.
And when we got there, it was in the evening. The sun was just going down. Oh. So it made it even more magical. It felt more like it felt like another planet because I think it was dark.
I'm actually very interested in the Imagineering involved. For instance, they calculated all the eye lines, right, of everything as you're in the rides. And they only built stuff where you can see it. So if you look from above, it's all kind of half done from above. Because it's all done. Well, why build something people can't see? Yeah. So it's true. So they were very careful to watch the eye lines. It's just fascinating. The genius they put into this stuff.
I put a few pictures on my Instagram. You have to swipe it, but there's one of me and R2D2 and X-wing fighter.
R2D2.
And
God, you buried the lead, Johnny.
Me
and R2. That is an influence. You're going to be an influencer. You keep this up.
You can buy that RTD2 for 25,000 credits or whatever they call it. Credits. They don't call it money.
Right, because they don't want you to think about what it really costs.
So
how many credits?
You can build your own Android, and I think it's $100 for that.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
All right, let me see here. Oh, look at that Woody. That's cool. Is that your new ride?
No, that's the Lido House Hotel.
That's a nice.
That was, we had an elevator in our room. That was the other day. But anyway, and you swipe.
Oh man. Oh, it's pretty, isn't it?
And you can see the line. I mean.
Oh yeah, no, it's crazy. Even with an event.
This is a party. This is a private party.
It's closed. But it would be wall to wall people if it weren't.
Right, and then if you swipe some more, you'll see others.
Man.
But.
Isn't that nice? Well, I really am impressed with the. Did you knock on it to see if it's made out of plastic?
I did knock on it. I knocked on one of the walls, and I don't know if it was plastic, but it was definitely not rock.
No.
So anyway,
this is so cool, Johnny. I am so happy for you, even if you didn't appreciate it at all. That's cool.
Well,
did you at least go in the Millennium Falcon?
I did not go in. That was a line. There was, I got more important things to do.
I got things to do. I got lobster roll to eat. I gotta go eat some lobster roll.
I got to ride at the haunted house.
I would, that's kind of what I would probably have done is gone to Pirates of the Caribbean and Haunted House and just kept riding them over and over and over. I love those rides. But the problem is there's no way to get into Smuggler's Run for less than 4 or 5 hours.
Is it really that long?
Oh, I'm sure it will be. I don't know. It's not open yet, really. I mean, you have to buy tickets. But once it's open to the public, I'm sure. We're going to be down there. We're going to spend a week in Venice soon. I can't remember.
Well, if you want to have lunch.
Yes. This time we've got to get together.
I can come down there. You come to our house or we can meet at a place. You just let me know. I'm around.
We'll get together for sure. Thank you, Johnny.
Here.
See ya. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Oh. That is I don't know what you would compare that with. An invitation to a private event at Disneyland when they open the Star Wars. I mean, that's got to be the invitation of the year, of the decade. 8888 Ask Leo. 888-827-5536. Tech in San Diego in our chat room says, I own 6 PCs ranging from a Centrino, those were the days in the 90s, right, to the i9, the latest 9th generation Intel processor. Is there a chart which shows which processors are vulnerable to side channel attacks? Side channel attacks are the things like Spectre and Meltdown that take advantage of a feature Intel started using in the late 90s on that Centrino, actually, I think, called speculative execution. And all of the processors that use speculative execution, all of them are vulnerable. So you don't need a chart, but I will recommend a free program from my friend Steve Gibson, grc.com. It's called Inspector, INSPECTRE, playing on the name of the vulnerability, the Spectre vulnerability, which lets you look at your system, because it's not, you also have to know whether it's been patched. Microsoft has put out patches. Intel has put out patches. You need to know what the status is of your system. Honestly, I wouldn't worry about these side channel attacks unless you're running a server and you allow many, many people to buy space on your server. As a home user, these are not issues. They're too hard to attack. Where the vulnerability really hits, though, is in a shared environment where you have many people. When you buy hosting from a web host, you're not on your own personal computer unless you pay for that, and it's pretty expensive. You're on a shared system with other websites that are on there. But if one of those websites should be malicious, it may be possible, thanks to these flaws, for them to get information like your password and login from you using these attacks, Spectre, Meltdown, and there's been more since. So this inspector looks at your microcode, sees if it's patched, specifically for the Spectre vulnerability. But if it's vulnerable to Spectre, it's vulnerable to all the rest. So this is a free program. Steve's a really great guy for this stuff. He gives away a lot of stuff like this. You could Google INSPECTRE. You'll probably find it, but it's at grc.com. Line 4, Bob in Corona, California. Hi, Bob. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Very good. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure. I'm so glad you called. Thank you for holding on. What can I do for you?
No worries. Perhaps I'm making this more difficult than it is, but I've got the cut the cable question for you.
Okay.
Which I've already done. Those darn cable providers.
It's such a good feeling to call up the cable company and say, I won't be needing you.
Yes.
But that feeling goes away rapidly. When first you figure out, well, maybe I will need them for internet access. Who do you get your internet access from?
Yeah, precisely. So the person that I cut the cable still has a cable connected to me.
Yeah. And, by the way, then they charge you more. Well, if you're not going to get TV, we're going to raise your rate.
Yes, that's happened.
Okay. What's your question?
It's been a while. I actually called you, maybe a couple of months ago, and there's my dog's going crazy. Tried to get an answer a while back, and I just never got around to getting back in touch with you. Going outside.
Okay.
So the cable that actually came in via the internet, via Spectrum was my provider.
Okay.
Again, they still had me connected for the internet.
Yeah.
And there's the line in, goes to a single line grounding mechanism.
Yeah.
And then that goes to a splitter, and clearly the splitter, the one line you can see they stapled on, goes and feeds my internet web access.
Right.
The second splitter was going into the house line. It's still connected.
Yeah, that's your old TV. That's your old that goes to all your TV cable drops.
Okay. And there's only one line, so maybe it's split or linked together.
Oh, yeah.
Somehow.
They'll have more splitters down the line if you have multiple cable ports.
Okay. So it's still currently hooked up, and I bought one of those fancy Amazon get your own broadcast antennas. It's supposed to be a really nice one, and it's still in the box. I've never tapped into it, and I guess my question is that a simple matter of hooking that one line that is being split?
Could you use the old cable line, because it's coax, which is what that antenna wants, for your antenna?
Yes.
That's a really good question. I don't know the answer to. In theory, yeah. I mean, if it were a straight shoot, in other words, if it weren't further split, absolutely. Coax is coax. Its impedance might not match, so you might want to check to see what that antenna wants. So the resistance of the cable is a direct result of the gauge of the cable, and so you want to. If you look in the box and see what the instructions say about what kind of cable you can hook up to it. If it includes that kind of cable, okay, good. The other issue might be the splitters, because of course splitters attenuate the signal by splitting that cable and then putting it down different things. So, the best thing to do is try it.
Okay. Yeah, it's one of those things. The wife is saying, "Are you ever going to take that thing out of the box?" And
yeah,
it's been yes for the last year.
Yeah, I mean, it should. I mean, it's just all that coax is a copper, wire leading from the antenna to whatever you're putting that antenna into in the house. Probably a tuner of some kind. So in theory, it should work just fine. The only issue would be the amount of the impedance of that cable. You want to make sure that if it's too much, you won't get much of a signal down it, and then the splits on the cable might impact it as well. If you can go to the crawl space, or it depends where the splitters are. If they're in the wall, disconnect any cable drop you're not using, because the closer you have to a straight shoot, the better. But I would just try it. Almost certainly it'll work. It's only a question of how well it will work. Will you get a great signal or will you get a weak signal? The chat room is saying, and words I don't understand, but I will repeat them as if I do, that it should be able to use, these are two different kinds of coax, RG59 or RG9. RG59 is fine. RG6 has lower loss for lower runs. There you go. So chances are it'll just work because it's copper, right? You got copper. You got a copper line leading. The only question is how, if there'll be interference or if the signal will be degraded a little bit. But it should work. What you'd like there is your RG6 solid core quad shield, oxygen free there. If you could have that, you're going to straight shoot right from the antenna there into the house. That would be the best. Maybe you got that. You don't know. Okay, Ben, your turn. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Ben.
Hi, Leo. I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
I have a Asus laptop, running Windows 10, and I've been getting those blue frowny faces.
Blue frowny faces. The blue screen of death. Yeah. Has it happened all the time? How often do you get? Nowadays Windows 10 frowny faces are much less likely. But how often are you getting the frowny face?
So I sometimes leave my computer idle, either at with one or two applications running, or at the sign-in screen.
Right.
And it will get it, and then I'll come back. It has the screen there.
So it's almost certainly an issue with either hardware or a driver, and I'll say that because the modern operating systems, and this includes, of course, Windows 10, Mac OS 2. If a program crashes, you won't get a blue screen of death. The program will go away. You might get an error alert, but it won't crash the operating system. The only thing that can cause a blue screen is something operating at a very low level. Usually that's driver or hardware error. If it's just sitting there, try closing all your programs and just let it sit there. If it's just sitting there, that almost certainly means there's a hardware error. Your power supply is flaky, maybe your RAM. That's hard to diagnose. It's not likely to be a driver error because if you're not doing anything, right? But it could be. It could be what we call a memory leak in a driver. So the other thing you could do is put in new, update your drivers, make sure that you got the latest version of all your drivers.
Okay. I also caught 3 stop codes. So
that's not useful.
Okay.
Sorry. They give you that as if it makes a difference. Nothing you can do with it. Because it doesn't when a computer crashes, it's so stupid it doesn't really know what caused the crash. The reason you're getting those codes, those are debugger codes that if you were the guy who wrote the operating system and you were the guy who wrote the program and you knew exactly what was going on behind the scenes, that error code might help you debug it.
Okay.
But otherwise, no. Nothing much you can do with it. Doesn't even tell you what crashed. What do they say, just out of curiosity?
It's like sometimes it'll say like registry error or like critical process died.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the useful information. You're so helpful, Windows. You're basically saying, you crashed.
Yeah.
Something went wrong. Sorry. You can Google them, but those are so generic that it's not going to really tell you anything. So the only reason I ask, if you saw a driver name, then maybe you would definitely try to upgrade that driver, see if that was the issue. I think it's probably a hardware issue. So, for instance, I'll give you some for instances. If your power supply is flaky, like it's dying, suddenly the power drops briefly, just enough, and then it comes right back. Except that then causes something else, like your memory, not to refresh, which then causes the operating system to go, I just can't. And then it throws up an error that says, I don't know, I was looking at the registry and something went wrong. So your error doesn't say anything about the power supply, but in fact, that's what caused it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Same thing if you have RAM that's flaky or not fully seated, go through everything. Did it just start happening?
No, it's been happening for a couple months now.
Yeah.
I just thought it was like one of those like once in a lifetime.
Yeah, it's not unusual to have it once in a while, but if it starts happening again and again, so there is a Microsoft troubleshooter for blue screen errors. It's support.microsoft.com, and it's tech article 14238. I don't think it's going to be that helpful, but you could do it. You could run through it. It wouldn't, give you a feeling of doing something.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, as I said, the error may not give you information about what caused it. It might be something that was at the end of the cascade, right? And those are really hard to diagnose. It could literally be just a CPU timing error. It could be that, So, but they do give you some samples, and they will walk you through it, and maybe it will help understand, and maybe it'll give you a place to look.
Okay.
But it could be overheating. I don't think it's overheating because the machine's idle when this happens, right? You're not using it.
Well, I'll just be sitting there, just like watching, say, like Hulu on my Chrome browser, and without anything else running.
Oh, but no, that's running a lot. That's working it hard. That could cause an overheating error.
And then
could be a video error. So do think about what you're doing. If you can make it happen, then you can figure out what it is. You've got to be able to make it happen.
Should Hulu make the fans run at high speed?
Yes.
When I watch,
absolutely. It should make the fans.
Times before, like right before it happens, the fans are running like super high speed.
Yeah, it's working hard. So it sounds like an overheating problem, actually. If it always happens when the fans are running hard, it's definitely an overheating problem. So you want to make sure you've got good airflow through there. You don't have a bunch of dust. That the thing is clean. Yes, watching video, that's a lot of work. You're not doing anything. You're relaxed, but your machine's working hard. Whenever you hear those fans ramp up, that means it's getting hot. And if it crashes when it's hot, that's a thermal error. The problem is that thermal error could be in a lot of components. Components don't like to get hot, including the power supply, motherboard, video card. But it could also be a memory leak in your video driver. There's, it's impossible for me to tell you what's wrong. Go through the troubleshooter. We'll put a link in the show notes.
Okay.
But that's the kind of thing that's very hard to diagnose, unless you can make it happen every time. That's the one exception. When you can make an error happen every single time, that's a huge clue. Like if it's every time you're watching video in Chrome, big clue. Yeah, I'd look inside. If it's a tower case, look inside, maybe clean it up. Could be dust in there. That does happen. These things happen. Our show today brought to you by Carbonite, the premier data protection platform for business. If you're a business and you're using one company for server backup, another one for endpoint protection, a third to protect your critical systems, well, that's crazy. Who are you going to call when something goes wrong? You want one number, or as the Microsoft folks used to call it, one throat to choke. You want a single vendor solution, Carbonite, for all your data protection needs, and no one does it as well as Carbonite. They have it all. Scalable, secure server backup solutions with flexible deployment models, flexible recovery options, things like high availability backup, real-time replication, cloud failover so you're never down, backup and recovery for physical, virtual, and cloud-based environments. They support a huge range of operating systems, over 200 operating systems, applications, and platforms. If you've got endpoints, laptops, phones, stuff out there in the real world, you need enterprise-grade endpoint protection. That means end-to-end block-level encryption, true global deduplication, bandwidth management tools to minimize network disruption, and most importantly, if one of those phones or laptops gets lost with your vital information on it, remote wipe capabilities. Carbonite does it all. You see what I'm saying? You can combine Carbonite technologies and build a complete, comprehensive, single-vendor solution that's exactly right for you, for your workloads, your risk tolerance, your business objectives. So simplify your environment, eliminate gaps in your data protection, reduce costly redundancies, and when you need somebody to call, they're there 7 days a week with their award-winning customer service. Carbonite is a secure, trusted provider. You need to learn more about Carbonite's data protection platform. I'm telling you, this is what you want at Carbonite.com. Carbonite.com. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, apps, augmented reality, all that stuff. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, you can still reach us. Just use Skype out. Call 888-827-5536. Back to the phones we go. And Stan in Commerce, California. Hi, Stan.
Hey, this is Stan and Leo.
Yep, welcome.
Can you hear me?
I hear you great, Stan.
I have what I call a thumb drive, a USB port.
Yep.
Where I save all my information.
Okay.
And it quit working. I get a light that says it's reading it, but it won't read it. So I'm wondering if you know a place I can send that drive.
Yeah, these drives, was that your only copy of your data?
Yes, sir.
Oh. Well, a thumb drive is a terrible place to rely on for your backup, let alone for your original. So, because flash memory dies, and often when it's dead, it's not recoverable. It is, I guess, conceivable in the best case scenario that what died was not the flash memory in the USB drive, but the USB interface. Sometimes those die. Flash memory dies a lot more, but sometimes those die. If you want to get it back, you can. There are people you can go to who will do data recovery on it, but it's expensive. And for instance, in this case, they would need to have the identical USB thumb drive, take the chips out of yours, put it in the identical drive, and see if that was what's wrong. But if it wasn't what's wrong, if it's just the flash memory in there, often if that's failed, it's gone for good. There are ways to recover data from flash memory. And I said recover because recover is one of those ways. It is a program from CCleaner. There's a free version, although almost always with these things, if they could find stuff, they'll say, well, and that'll be $50. But Recover does offer free recovery. So that's one to try. There's another. There are a number of these that do a very good job of recovering flash memory. So, but try Recover, RECUVA. If you Google it, you'll find it. And CCleaner's a pretty good company. Honestly, though, when a flash drive dies on me, I throw it out because it's just not been my experience that it's recoverable. These things die, and it is a very poor choice for backup. Actually, it's not a poor choice for backup if it's not your only copy. That's not backup, though, is it? That's the original. So it's a very poor choice for an original. It's a less poor choice if you have an original on your internal drive and then you're backing up to a thumb drive because they both have to die. It's a decent choice if you're backing up to two different kinds of devices. And that's the real rule on backup. I've mentioned this many times. My friend Peter Crow made it up. It's called 3-2-1 backup, and it's a good thing to keep in mind. Your data is not backed up unless there are 3 copies, not 1 copy, 3 copies. And by copies, I mean, not a copy of something, but 3 sets. Maybe that's a better way to use it. 3 sets of that data. Sometimes people go, well, I copied it so I can delete the original because I have a copy now. Well, you have a set. You don't have really a copy because once you delete the original, it's not a backup anymore. It's the original. So you want the original plus 2 backups, 3 sets. The 2 of this is on 2 different media, and that's because it's generally considered a mistake to rely on any one technology, like, let's say, a USB thumb drive. So it wouldn't be bad to have a USB thumb drive if you also had it on an extra external drive or some other place. Actually, ideally, the 3rd copy is, and this is the one, offsite, which could either be in the cloud on a cloud service like Google Drive or OneDrive or iCloud, or at work on a hard drive. So 3-2-1, 3 copies, 2 different kinds of media. So that doesn't mean take 2 different thumb drives and bring one to work. 2 different kinds of media, at least, and then at least 1 copy offsite in case, there's a disaster. So in this case, you had 1, nothing. You had 1 copy, 1 original. You had it on 1 medium, which failed, and you had no offsite version. So you don't have a backup. I'm sorry. There are people who will do this, and you can search for it. Somebody's given me a link by zip code from thumbtack.com to flash drive data recovery near you. I tell you, my nervousness on all of this is how reliable are these guys, and what can they actually do? But there are places you can go that say and they've got reviews on here. So we'll put that Thumbtack search result on the website. You put in your zip code, and it'll say here's some people that can do it. Get a quote because it's not gonna be cheap. It's not gonna be cheap. David, Westlake Village, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, David.
Hi, Leo. Thank you for taking my call.
Thanks for calling. What can I do for you?
So my nephew has got a birthday coming up, and he wants a gaming computer. So I went out. I picked up a Dell 3670 with a i7, and it seemed to be right up what he needed, minus a graphics card.
Right.
So I went out and I picked up a NVIDIA 1660 Ti graphics card for him.
Nice. You're a good uncle.
I try. However, it's going to require a different power supply.
Yeah.
So I picked up a...
I would have warned you about that.
I knew it going in.
Oh, good. Okay.
I picked up a Thermaltake 750 initially. And
this is getting to be a little expensive. Next time, buy a gaming PC because they'll have done all this work.
I priced it out. We're quite a bit cheaper because we got a real good deal on the initial tower.
Awesome. Yeah, that's one of the problems with buying a, quote, gaming PC. I mean, you're getting all the same hardware. And, sometimes these gaming PCs, they trick them out with LED lights and the flashing things and the wind. And then they charge, they upcharge you because it's a gaming PC. So you're going to do the same thing. You just have to do the work.
Right. So the initial power supply, I go to plug it in, and the motherboard has a 8-pin ATX and a secondary 4-pin ATX. That power supply didn't have that option. It only had the 8-pin or a 24-pin.
Yeah.
So I returned it. I got the next model up, which has an 8-pin ATX, and then it pigtails off to a second 8-pin ATX. So I just want to make sure before I power it up, the 8-pin and then take half of the secondary 8-pin should have no issue with that.
Yeah, a lot of times you can do that. Depends where the power pins are and all of that. But yes, a lot of times you can do that.
Okay, that was my big concern before I powered.
I don't think you'll fry anything, but look at the pinouts on the on both connectors and make sure you're not putting power on something that's data, because that would fry it. But as long as it's power, it's expecting power on that pin, you're all right.
It looked that way.
Yeah, usually that's the way it is. This is exactly why, though, again, if it's pre-built, you don't have to, this is crazy stuff. You've spent a lot of time on this.
So I had two other quick questions about it. The first one, any issue with installing the PCI graphics card before initial boot up? Or should I boot it up and then power it down and then install it after I've gone to sleep?
No, in fact, it might be better to have the card in there because boot up is the point at which Windows decides what drivers and so forth to load. So it might be a good idea. You may have to go into BIOS because now you have two video solutions. You have a motherboard video and you have graphics card video. Sometimes you have to specify in the BIOS which you want to use.
Okay.
But you should have drivers for both, and they should automatically plug and play. That's one of the things Windows does very well.
And then the last question is, so it says it has 24 gigs of RAM. It says 8 gigs of DDR RAM, and then 16 of Optane.
Oh, wow.
memory. And I had not heard of
that. This is Intel's new 3D RAM. Good on you. What do you want to know about it?
Well, I just wanted to make sure, because I hadn't heard Optane before. I just wanted to make sure that that's going to be sufficient enough.
Where is that Optane? Is it on the motherboard or on the video card? Where's the Optane?
So it's an integrated video card. So the way that I see it from looking at the motherboard, it looks like it's on the motherboard.
It may be using the Optane as an SSD. Sometimes they do that because it's non-volatile. So it may be what you're booting to is the Optane.
Okay.
Sometimes it's used that way too. Optane is 3D. In fact, if you Google it, you'll see it's a 3D memory technology that is sometimes used as RAM, and more often I think used as solid-state storage. So probably what it's telling you is I have 16 gigs of DDR RAM, and then how much Optane did it have?
16 of Optane and 8 gigs of DDR.
So the 8 gigs will be the available RAM. The 16 was probably being used as a cache for the hard drive.
Okay, so it wouldn't be a negative thing to upgrade that DDR then?
No. If you have slots, you definitely want 16 or more.
Right. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that it needed that 16 and the Optane. It seemed like Optane was a secondary source, but...
Yeah, I don't think it's used as RAM. I think it's used as cache to speed up the hard drive would be my guess. You know, Intel created this thing, and it's kind of created a monster because it's non-standard. And you'll find it on Intel motherboards. Obviously, that's what you've got. It does require an Intel processor, and it's my understanding it's mostly used exactly as I would guess it's used on yours as cache RAM for a hard drive. So it's like a hybrid drive, but who knows? It could be used as a hard drive as well. I'm not sure how it's set up. See what Windows does with it.
I'll definitely upgrade that DDR for him then.
Yeah. Have fun.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. You're a nice uncle. That's a nice thing to do. When I wanted to get a gaming system for our 16-year-old, I just bought him a gaming system. Because this is the last thing I want to have to figure out. And the thing is you can't call anybody at this point, except me, because all the companies will say, well, you have to ask the video card company. The video card company says, you have to ask the motherboard company. There's too many people involved at this point. And then they can all pass the buck to one another. So really, you're the tech support guy for the whole thing. As you can see, that's exactly what he's going through. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask Leo. More of your calls coming up. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Follow me. Actually, don't follow me. I got off social media. No Facebook, no Instagram. I do have a Twitter, but I don't use it. It was hard. It's hard to kill an account with almost 600,000 followers. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I probably should, because it's a dumpster fire. These things, these social media networks are crazy. They're nightmares. 8888 Ask Leo. Let's go on to say hello to Sherman in Tustin, California. Hello, Sherman.
Hey, Leo. How are you? Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Thank you. Welcome. Glad you found us.
Yeah. Hey, I am getting ready to go on a trip around the world.
How are you doing it?
Backpack.
Tell me. Oh, you're backpacking around the world.
Yes. And I'm looking at, I have an iPhone 7 Plus, and I'm looking, do I get the Pixel with Fi? That would be my first question.
That'd be my first answer. Yes.
Okay.
So the Google Fi, which is Google's version of a phone company, rides on top of other phone companies. They don't have their own cell towers. They use T-Mobile, Sprint's, and U.S. Cellulars in the United States. As you travel worldwide, they'll use T-Mobile. They might use others as well. But the great thing about Fi is no matter where in the world you are, the data cost is the same, $10 a gigabyte, capped. After 6 gigabytes, you don't pay anymore. So
I have to change SIM cards.
Yes. You'll have to get a Google Fi SIM card.
But once I have that...
Once you're traveling, no, that's your phone number, that's it. Now, phone calls do change depending as you travel around, and it does not work in every country. You should look at the list to make sure if you're traveling around the world.
It's in 200 countries.
It's 200. There's how many total? 210? I did find a year ago when I was in Monaco, it didn't work there. Then when I was there last year, it did. So they added Monaco. Nice thing about Monaco, it's a mile from France in any direction. So, or Italy on the other side. So, in other words, it's not going to work everywhere necessarily. It works pretty much everywhere. I found the bandwidth was good. Now, you could also do T-Mobile, but T-Mobile will slow you down for data.
Yeah.
So for no fee, they give you 2G data, in some cases 3G. I think...
So I was looking...
Go ahead.
Looking also at possibly getting the Google Pixel Chromebook.
Yeah.
As something to take with me.
Yeah, that's a good idea, because if you lose it, it's not a heartbreak.
Yeah.
But you can do a lot with it.
The i5 or the i7, is there any reason why I need to upgrade to the i7?
No. God, no.
Okay.
An i5 is overkill.
Is it?
Well, it's nice. If you have an i5, that's nice. But most Chromebooks are ARM processors. They're not. And even the ones that are Intel are usually lower end, like Atom processors. You must be getting it from Google.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the only, as far as I know, the only company that offers a real i5 and i7, and you'll pay for it. It's $1,000.
Is it worth it, or is that?
I don't think so. I wouldn't, especially if you're traveling around the world. I'd get an Acer or something, half the price. That's going to be fine, and you won't break your heart if it gets damaged or lost.
Okay. Then the last question would be a VPN. Do I need a VPN, like ExpressVPN or something like that?
That's a more difficult one to answer. I'd say no, because so sometimes people use VPNs in China to get around restrictions, but I think that's a good way to get arrested. So I would say no, just don't do anything you want to keep private. So it depends. It kind of depends where you're going. If you're using a Chromebook and you're secure, you probably don't need a VPN.
Okay.
It depends what you're doing. If you want to have Google Hangouts, well, that's the thing. I mean, even if you used a VPN, if you're using a messaging service that's been compromised, it doesn't matter. So it just depends how private you want to be. If you're saying, I just want day-to-day hackers, I don't want them to get into my system, you got a Chromebook, you're fine.
Okay, that's pretty much it. I'm just going to be keeping in touch with family
and
friends while I'm traveling.
So you use a VPN to send email. Well, guess what? The minute it goes out of the VPN, it's flying through the air in the clear anyway. And maybe your email provider's been compromised too, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So VPN is really protection for some specific situations, like if you're on a Chromebook, don't even worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah, get a cheap Chromebook. Google Fi without a question is the best. Is what I use for traveling. I have a Google Fi phone at all times, for that very reason.
Can I port my current number, or do I have?
You sure can.
Okay.
You sure can.
Cool.
So you'll have the same number. Last month my my phone bill was $30 on Google Fi, because they don't charge you they only charge you for what you use.
Yeah, that's great.
Starts at $20 and then it's $10 a gigabyte after that. And if you don't use a lot of data, And it's great. Internationally, I found it to be very good. Better than T-Mobile because I always carry a T-Mobile phone as well. It's a little faster in general. The other thing is you'll find there's Wi-Fi everywhere.
Yeah.
And you're going to end up going. The reason you want bandwidth, you want data, is like Google Maps will work when you're lost in a city. But when you're going to, stay in touch or surf the net, you're going to go to a coffee shop anyway. They'll have Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Does the 5 phone have like a hotspot where I can go with the laptop?
And it works with a Chrome OS beautifully. Yep.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate all the info.
Oh, man. A year? You're going to spend a year?
Or longer, however long.
Oh, man. So have you been saving up to do this? Is that how you did it?
Yeah, I'm in my late 60s, and it's time now that...
so this is me in a few years is what I'm hearing here.
There you go.
I want to do this. Are you going by yourself?
Yeah, all by my lonesome.
Backpacking like a kid. Are you going to stay in hostels?
Sometimes hostels, sometimes rooms, Airbnb.
This sounds like a great way to stay young.
Well, I'm trying to, that's for sure.
I am so impressed. I would love to do this.
My daughter did it at age 24, and I've always been kind of jealous. I want to do too.
Yeah, it's what kids do. Nice.
Yeah.
I'm
a big kid.
You're gonna have such experiences and adventures, and there's gonna be hard times, but it's gonna be great.
I'm looking forward to it.
So jealous, man. Have a great time.
Hey, I appreciate your help.
All right, take care.
Thanks.
Send a postcard.
Yeah, will do.
All right, bye-bye. That is awesome. So jealous. Too leisurely, Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo, the Giz Wiz, Dick DeBartolo, coming up with some wacky gizmo or gadget. He collects them in just a few minutes. But first, Ralph in Altoona, PA. Hello, Ralph.
Hey, how you doing, Leo?
I am awesome. How are you?
Oh, hanging in there.
What can I do for you?
Yes, my question is, I've got a Dell desktop computer. It's running Windows 10. I just got it a few months ago, and I was sitting in the room there where I have it, and I put it to sleep, and I was on my other computer reading some articles, and I heard the hard drive spinning up on that thing while it was asleep. And it doesn't do it all the time. It's periodically. Okay?
Yeah, it's probably getting your email or something.
What's that?
It's probably getting your email.
You think?
Oh, yeah. You probably have stuff running in the background. It's pretty normal. Computers, when they're sleeping, are not necessarily fully asleep, especially recently. They've made computers with a heartbeat that continues, and occasionally processes will run things like email. Look at your email. Look at what do you use Outlook or something like that for email, or do you just use the web?
No, I get my email through my provider.
Okay, so it's not that then, because that would. Do you leave any programs open, or you close everything when it's sleeping?
Once in a while, I'll leave something open.
Windows itself does stuff, too. You know, it goes out and sees if there's new files to index for the index. It might go out and check Windows Update once in a while. It's not... Computers have a deep, rich inner life. You shouldn't assume just because it's sleeping that it's not doing anything.
Okay.
Are you worried that there's somebody on your system, maybe malware on it, or something's going on like that?
Yeah, I thought, is somebody accessing that thing that I don't know about? Because I tell you what it did. I turned the modem off. I got on DSL. I turned the modem off and it quit.
Yeah, because almost always when it's doing something, it's doing it on the internet. All the things I mentioned, it'd be going online for.
It's going out on the net doing something.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
vice versa.
You can check your task scheduler. Actually, there's even more sophisticated tools. Microsoft offers a free one called Process Explorer, and see what's going on. You could keep the Windows activity monitor running and just see, when it's waking up and doing things. Generally, I understand your concern. I do, because nowadays stuff gets on people's systems and, in fact, might be doing something in the background. But it's not necessarily. It's not unusual to have Windows periodically, or Mac OS, periodically spin up, do something, and then go back to sleep. But if you're worried about that, you'd see other kinds of behavior that would look suspicious. But if you're worried about that, you could download Process Explorer. It's a part of Microsoft's sysinternals key, and it will downloads. It's a small download, and it will tell you what things are running in the background. You'll be actually amazed, but it will also show you. Yeah, it will also show you CPU access and disk access, and you could see the exact time, and you could see who was doing it.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. It just came to mind. I put Norton VPN on there.
That could be doing it. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. If I turn Norton VPN on and it stops doing that, what would that tell you?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Because from the point of view of your system, the VPN is handling all internet access. It's still able to access outside world.
Okay, that's more or less for privacy then.
Yeah. Although it could very well be Norton that's doing it.
Okay, never thought of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So it's not a bad idea. This is probably a useful thing to everybody to know. It's kind of a higher end geek tool, but it is free from Microsoft. It's not hard to use. And I think you can look at the activity, if you do hit Control-Alt-Delete, you can see what the activities are, but this gives you a little bit more granular look at what's going on. And it'll show you, a timeline of disk accesses and CPU accesses. You get a little graph so you can see who's accessing what when. And that'll might put your mind at ease. And if you see stuff you really don't know, what is that? By the way, hackers do not name malware with scary names. Most of the time, they'll name them things that look like they're Windows processes. So,
Okay.
But you'll get an idea of what's going on. It's all the thing. I guess the takeaway is it's normal for Windows to do stuff when it's idle. But it's also not unreasonable to say, well, I want to know what's running on my system. So if you care about that, then look at Process Explorer.
Okay. Could I ask one more question?
Certainly.
I bought an HP wireless printer. I got a laptop. Okay, it's running Windows 7.
Yep.
Now, I installed the HP software on the laptop, and I can broadcast, or whatever you want to say, a test page.
Yeah, you could send a text page. Yeah.
Yes, it'll do that, but it won't print anything else.
Okay. That is annoying, isn't it? So you can talk to it, you can see the printer, but you just can't print to it. I mean, you can, but it's only a test page. That means that something is broken in the printer driver, that the spooler's not working or something like that. I would completely uninstall the printer driver. Windows does this automatically, maybe not installing the best stuff. Go to hp.com, get the driver for your version of Windows and your specific printer and install it by hand and see if that fixes it. It's something broken. The print spooler's broken or something like that. The test page is easy because it's just really sending a signal to the printer saying, print your test page. All of it comes from the printer. What's not working is you sending actual printing data from your computer. So you do have a network connection, but whatever's spooling out the data to the printer is not working. That to me sounds like a print driver issue.
Yeah, I tried to print out some PDF files and it just would not work. And I thought, well, maybe the PDF there's something going on with the PDF file. So I just took a regular text file.
Still wouldn't print. Yep. I always open up Notepad and type something in Notepad because that's as simple as it can be. And if it won't print from Notepad, then you just reinstall the driver. And I would get it from HP instead of using the default that Windows provided. It sounds like it may have misinstalled, and not fully installed all its parts. You'll notice when you download the driver from HP, there's a lot of parts. HP puts a lot of stuff on your system, including maybe, stuff you'll never use, but at least you'll have a complete set of drivers. That should help. Whenever, I'll give you a little IT secret. Your IT guy will tell you this. Whenever you call the IT department and you say something about your printer, oh man, they put you on hold and they swear up a storm. Then once they calm down, they take you off a hold and they say, have you restarted your computer? If they're saying that to you, if that's happening to you, they're just laughing behind your back. The IT department hates printer problems. I hate printer problems. There's a million things that can go wrong. 8888 Ask Leo. Our show, thank you to Damien, Big Pee-wee, our musical director. Our show wouldn't happen without him on the other end, doing whatever he does, stuffing my words down the pipe. Thank you, Big Pee-wee. We appreciate it. And, of course, without your calls and the fabulous Kim Schaffer answering your calls, I couldn't do a show. So I thank you, all of you, for helping me do this program. Dick DeBartolo, the Giz Wiz, coming up, and then we'll wrap it up. We'll probably have time for one or two more calls before we go home. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Look at that, my friend. It's our disco guy, Dick DeBartolo, Mad Magazine's maddest writer and our gizmo wizard. Here he is from beautiful downtown Disneyland.
Exactly.
Do you have a Star Wars ride in Disneyland?
Just Myra.
We'll
push her around on a little chair.
You got wheels on the office chair. That's all you need. That's all you need.
That's it. And my George Lucas letter on the wall. So that's pretty much it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
George Lucas liked your Star Wars parody, didn't he?
Yeah, and his lawyers didn't. So that's the fun part.
But in the long run, George said it's okay, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he cheered us on and said should be Academy Award for me and Mort Drucker. And then it was 3 days later that the lawyers said, "Hey, you can't do that."
Did you just send him a copy of the letter?
Yeah, I said to Gaines, the publisher, "What are you going to do?" And he said, "Give me a magic marker." So he wrote across the lawyer's letter, "Gee, George liked it."
Oh. And then you never heard from them again?
Never again.
See, I think that happens a lot of times because every once in a while, Apple will get mad at me or whatever and pull down our video on YouTube or whatever because we show Apple content.
Yeah.
And I honestly think it's just some guy. It's a lawyer Apple hired. They probably even forgot they're paying him.
No, yeah, I think absolutely. They sit around all day and they think,
got nothing to do.
Yeah, who can we harass?
Yeah, I mean, if you're paying people, if you got a whole building full of lawyers, they got to do something.
Yeah.
So, Dick, you always bring us such fun stuff. What do you have today?
Well, Leo, this might be something for you, okay? Yes. Now, this is a high-end gadget. So I was invited to...
Did you look at the price and say, this is something for Leo?
No, I looked at what it does.
Okay, good.
I looked at what it does. Okay, so it was a Bose event.
Oh, I like Bose. I like my Bose.
I figured, it's going to be another noise reduction headphone. Well, it was, except it was very funny because after the demo and before the demo, they have a little area with food. And I sat next to this gentleman and I said, are you here to see the Bose? And he said, no, I'm the head engineer for the product that you're seeing.
Oh, nice.
So what it was is he was saying all the time we've been concentrating on reducing the noise for the person wearing the headphones, the wireless headphones. But we haven't thought till now reduce the noise that's going to go into the phone call he's making, or if he's doing instructions to his virtual assistant.
Oh.
So this new headset has 8 microphones, 4 of them for noise that's around you, 2 of them for noise that is directed toward the mics you're going to speak in, and 2 more that can shift function depending on where the noise is worst.
So you still get the traditional noise canceling, the jet engine or whatever.
Exactly. Exactly.
But people sitting next to you won't hear echo talking to you.
Well, it's better than that. So he says, let's call somebody. It's a noisy Starbucks. So they call somebody, and it's a Bose guy.
Oh, I get it.
Yes. And then he says, if you want to go to the window, and you'll see a guy in the back waving. That's where he is. He's in that. I don't know how they found a hotel with a Starbucks across the street where you could look in the window.
What's sad is that guy has to sit there all day waiting for somebody to call him.
Yeah. So.
Hey, Joe. Joe's like the low man on the totem pole. Joe,
Yes,
I got
exactly.
a great assignment for you.
We're going to call you. A reporter's going to call you every 21 minutes. Okay.
And you have to pretend to be excited to talk to him.
Yeah. So he first talks through the Bose QC35-2, which is their latest model.
Okay.
And you can hear a lot of the noise
Background
in the background.
noise. Yeah.
Yes. Then he shifts over because it's compared to two different Bluetooth devices. Then you talk to him over the Bose 700.
And it's quiet.
And I would say the noise is about 75 to 80% reduced.
So we've seen noise-canceling headsets for phone use. A lot of truckers use the Blue Parrot, for instance.
Yes.
They do a very good job. So this is for somebody who wants to be listening to music, obviously not while you're driving, but also wants to use it as a headset for a phone.
Exactly.
Or Skype.
Or talking to your virtual assistant. For example, in another room, a guy read 8 facts off a giant monitor, and then we had a monitor hooked up to the 700 and to the Bose QC35, and we could see the translation.
Was struggling.
Sari was
struggling because it was so noisy.
Yes, and Sari got every fact correct, and the other one got some of the facts, but a lot of things that didn't make any sense at all as it was being translated. So
interesting.
They certainly have put some time and effort into this. Now, again, it's not incredibly inexpensive, but I happen to do a web search on the top 10 headphones like it's at CNET. Most of them are $350 to $400. And that's where the Bose 700 is going to come in at the $399, basically $400. It's not out till the end of the month, and it is beautiful. The guy said it took a very long time to design this because we couldn't take headsets we had and just improve them. This is stainless steel. It has, I think he said, a friction-bearing track, so the cups can slide up and down the stainless steel holder so that there's no rods that extend. It is really beautiful looking.
How much again?
It's $400, $399.99.
That's really expensive. That's even more expensive than the QCs, right?
Yeah, the QCs is $350.
Oh, well, all right. Those are pretty expensive, too. The Bose 700, 8 microphones.
8 noise reduction microphones.
Now, what you could do if you want to, I am not buying these. What you could,
okay.
No, I just shout louder. I'm talking to you, Siri. What you could do if you want to find out more about these is go to Dick's website because he's got all the information plus links at gizwiz.biz, GIZWIZ.biz, gizwiz.biz. While you're there, play the what the heck is it contest, a close-up picture of a gizmo or gadget. If you can identify it, you're in the running for 6 autographed Mad magazines. Get it wrong, you're in the running for 12 autographed Mad magazines. That's just how Dick runs his life.
Yeah, stupidity pays.
And
I proved that.
There's lots of other fun stuff, including Dick's great weekly podcast. He does a nice video podcast with Chad Johnson called The Giz Wiz, coincidentally, at gizwiz.tv. Thanks, Dickie D.
Thank you, sir. I'll see you next week.
All right, get that Myra Disneyland ride going, and I might get in line for it.
Okay. Good.
Okay. Now the line waiting in Disneyland is amazing, just amazing. Time is up. I'm sad to say I don't think I'll have enough time to get to another call. We're going to wrap things up, but I will be back next time. I hope you will too. Remember, the website techguylabs.com has everything we talked about. When I mention a site or a link or a product, we put links up there. Thanks to James DeRuvo, who's writing that all down. And we also put audio and video after the show up there, so if you miss a show, you can catch up. Or you can just listen to me talk to you if you're on the show. That website is free. There's no sign up. techguylabs.com. It's even got room for your comments. If you have a better idea or you want to yell at me, do it there. techguylabs.com. I'm Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Thanks for being here. Have a great Geek Week. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWIT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.